Good evening. Welcome to Aldersgate United Methodist Church on this opening presentation for our winter lecture series. We're so glad that you're here, everybody that's here in person, and also people who are watching online. I'm Carrie Beckenhauer. I'm a member of the Earth Stewards here at Aldersgate. And we'll do a couple housekeeping items first. You'll notice that we have an exit on every wall in the sanctuary. Not that we expect to use them, but in case we need to, you'll know where they are. Also, the restrooms are located out the double doors you came in, down the hallway, next to the water fountain. Tonight we have a real treat. We have two energy experts here with us from Lincoln Electric System. We're so glad that they're with us. They're going to cover three main topics. We hope to have some time for question and answer when they're done with their presentation. And so we'll let Jay Stoa and Jennifer Banger take it away.
All right. So I'm just going to go over some of the programs that we offer our residential and our commercial customers. And then we're also going to talk about renewable energy opportunities. Just going to give a quick overlay of Lincoln Electric System. And I'm going to get to that. So I'm sure everybody's aware that Lincoln Electric System is a publicly owned utility. So basically, actually, all of Nebraska is publicly owned. That's easy for me to say. So we do have an administrative board, and that consists of 9 members, and that is appointed by the mayor, and it does have to get approved by the city council. Being publicly owned, you have an opportunity to present at any of our board meetings or any of the public functions that we do have, which I think is a great opportunity if you have questions, concerns about rates or anything that we're doing. So we had that little logo, local people serving local people, and I really think that's true to what LES is. We have over 130,000 residential customers, almost 18,000 commercial customers, and then our energy resource, 35% of our energy is from natural gas, 34% is going to be from renewables, and wind, hydro, solar, landfill gas, and then 31% is coal. So basically, we got a really good piece of the pie, what our resources are for Lincoln. And here's just a map of where the resources are coming from. What I want to have you look at there on the Lincoln one, we do have 3 natural gas, and I'm going to call those peaking plants. We will only fire those up when we're in peak conditions, which is normally going to be during the summer months. So those are only fired up as needed. Any questions about that before I get into the sustainable energy program? All right, so we have a sustainable energy program, SEP is what I'm going to call it. It's just an opportunity for our customers to save energy, but what it's doing for LES, it's offsetting our summer peak. So if you make these energy efficient do some of these projects that I'm going to be talking about, you're assisting LES so we don't have to turn on those peak generator plants. And then also, it's going to be higher at those peak times. So you're saving LES money as you are saving yourself money. The incentive program is all of the funds that you would get if you were to participate in our program is through what we call our participating contractors. What the projects that I'm going to be talking about is you would have a contractor come to your home, do the measures that I'm going to mention, and they will actually give you the LES incentive. And then after they verify that they deducted the total cost of the incentive, we reimburse them. It just really streamlines the process for us. when we give out these incentives. Residential, we have ceiling, our insulation program, high efficient heat pump and air conditioning. And then we also offer a heat pump water heater. For commercial properties, we have those three options for the commercial. Small commercial would probably be for the insulation part of it. But we also do have interior lighting, which Aldersgate has received funds for that. And then if there's, once again, any upgrade that we would consider a deduction or reduction in peak production, so that could be, you know, water towers, things like that. As I mentioned, Aldersgate has received basically almost over $2,700 in LES funds for some of the energy upgrades that they have done here. And I believe, Carrie, I think 4 or 5 have been through HVAC, and one of them has been for the lighting upgrade. So our whole house ceiling and insulation program, this is going to be for older homes. So what we're looking for, like an attic insulation, if you have 6 inches or less in the attic, and those are going to be homes that are built probably prior to 1980, and our incentive is 50 cents per square foot of attic space. If you have an older home, maybe built prior to 1950s, there's a possibility that the wall cavity does not have insulation, and then our incentive for that is 80 cents per square foot of the exterior space. So if you add all those up, the total incentive cannot exceed $1,500. So let's say you did all of them, and if you did the math on the square footage, it was 2,000, you would only get 1,500. Any questions on that?
Is that per year or per customer?
Per customer. So like on the insulation program, that'd probably be one and done. It would be, because if you're participating in this program, you're getting your house up to the levels where we would want them. And then, you know, 5 years from now, that, you know, you shouldn't have to add insulation.
But if you turned around and bought a heat pump?
Well, I'll get to that.
Okay.
I should have Carrie up here. So all qualifying projects, we do require what we call a pre and post blower door test. So basically what a blower door test, and that's where Carrie can come up here and probably explain it better than me. So it's a device, you put in an exterior door, and if you look on the left-hand side there, it's a blower that makes the house negative. It gives us a known quantity of air going through that blower. And basically what it's helping us determine is how leaky your home is. We know insulation is going to improve the thermal shell of your home, but actually air infiltration can account for, you know, anywhere from 15 to 25% of your heat loss and heat gain. So identifying where those leaky points are, through this program, the contractor is going to set it up, walk through the home, identify where those areas are to improve some of those efficiencies of reducing that air infiltration.
You said the contractor is somebody that the residential owner would hire to do it, or is it one of your contractors?
No, so we have a list of probably 6 insulation contractors that are well versed in this program. They will actually go out, yes, it qualifies, and then they'll say, you're gonna get an X dollar LES incentive, we're gonna deduct it, and then they do all the work. If you, let's say you got a 1975 home, walls are insulated, minimal attic insulation. If that's something you wanted to do yourself, add the insulation, you could just hire one of these contractors to do the blower door. So you do have those options. Carrie, do you still have your blower door?
No, I do not.
Oh.
But I wanted to say that, turn on the microphone here. I wanted to say that the ceiling that you're talking about is very worthwhile. Tom and I have had that done at our house.
Yep. So, what does it look like? So if you went up, peeked up, looked up in your attic, and if you can see your rafters, most likely that is going to qualify for our program. So let's say this is a 1,200 square foot attic. If you were, okay, so we're saying 6 inches is about R19. Through our program, we're going to get it to R49. So I did just a quick calculation. The heat loss, heat gain of a 1,200 square foot attic space, you're going to save about $85 per year. So that would qualify for $600 LES incentive. And then let's just say the estimated cost is $2,000. Subtract the LES incentive, that your out-of-pocket's going to be $1,400. And I'm going to be talking about this on all of our programs. There's federal tax credits for a lot of the things, actually everything that we have an incentive for, there's an additional federal tax credit. And for insulating, it's 30% of the cost, or a max of $1,200. And that's outside of the LES, so that would be when you're doing your taxes at the end of the year. Any questions about this part of it?
So that's an annual credit you get then?
Yep, that would, yeah, so you would probably have, and I'm not a tax expert, so you'd probably have to have receipts of what the cost was to add the insulation and all that, and that would be a part of your tax preparation. So exterior wall insulation, I just wanted to show a couple images of how they are adding the insulation. On the outside, they'll usually plug holes and then they'll just put a, Carrie, have you seen them do that? Oh yeah. So basically they'll just put a hose in there and they'll fill each cavity with insulation. They can either do that on the outside of the home or the inside. Pretty dirty, but then there's going to be added work to, you know, have, if it's on the inside, redo some of the drywall, stuff like that. So we have an incentive for high efficient heat pumps, and that incentive is going to be $800 as long as it meets the energy requirements of at least 12.0 EER2 and 15.2 SEER2. That would qualify for an $800 LES incentive. If you are a City of Lincoln resident, the City of Lincoln new this year is offering $1,000 for replacement if you have an existing air conditioner or heat pump. So that total incentive can max at $1,800, combine the LES and the city. The city incentive, like I said, is only for the City of Lincoln. It cannot be new construction. It cannot be for the people that are putting mini splits in garages or sheds. It's just for systems in the heating space. And that's just for heat pumps. And then there is also the tax credit of 30% or a max credit of $2,000 for high efficient heat pump. So I put this slide here, and so this is if you have an old air conditioner. If you replace it with a heat pump, we've had a couple different customers say, hey, I have a gas furnace, and what is the heat pump going to do for me? So what I ask for is send me your gas history. Based off of their gas history, I'm able to determine how many BTUs they need to heat their home, but also I can say how much they are heating their home based off of their natural gas history. So this customer, they have an 80% natural gas furnace, and they had about a 9 SEER air conditioner, and I estimated the annual heating at 313, and then the cooling was right at 127 for total heating and cooling of 440. If they were to install a heat pump with their natural gas furnace, so the heat pump is going to do all of the cooling, and then during the winter months, it's probably going to do about 2/3 of your total heating. So you would still need about 1/3 of that for the natural gas furnace. So I kind of combined all that and broke up the heating cost. So basically, by installing a heat pump and obviously a higher efficient cooling system, I figured about a yearly savings of 138 or right around 32% of their heating and cooling costs by adding a heat pump. And another additional savings if they were to upgrade the efficiency of the gas furnace. Any questions on that? Do you understand what heat pumps are doing? Heat pumps can work in Lincoln. I live in an all-electric home. My heat pump, you know, it's still generating heat when it's 0 degrees out, so. And the technology is getting better and better, too. We have an incentive for high-efficient air conditioners, and those have the same energy requirements as our heat pumps, 12 EER2 and 15.2 SEER2. And then you can get a federal tax credit for the air conditioner. All right, I did some more math for you. So if you have an old air conditioner, and I'm saying 15 to 20 years, and then if you replace it with a qualifying air conditioner, you're gonna get the $600 credit, and that's gonna save about $52 per year. And I really don't like putting dollar values on what someone's gonna save, because I can look at someone's electric bill, and they're not even maybe spending $100 to cool their home, but you look at these others and they could be at $400. So really that is maybe probably about 30 or 40% on cooling costs by going with an old air conditioner to a new high efficient air conditioner. We do have incentives for geothermal heat pumps, and that incentive is anywhere from $550 up to $1,500. And that obviously, the higher the incentive, the more energy efficient it's gonna be. Any questions on geothermal? Basically, you're using the ground source to either remove the heat from the ground to bring it into the house, or remove the heat from the house to put it in the ground during the summer.
What's the risk to groundwater pollution if those pipes leak?
Actually, they have to use, and I'm probably not using the terminology correct, but it has to be like a biodegradable type of heat exchanger fluid.
The fluid in our geothermal heat pump is food grade glycol. So you're putting something that's food grade. If it would leak, it's just, it's no harm to plants or animals. But you know, our wells for our geothermal heat pump are 200 feet deep. So if you're going to have a leak, there's not going to be any squirrels or anybody that's going to be drinking or consuming any of that.
But they do have standards in place where it does have to meet those requirements. Yes?
How big a yard space do you need for the underground?
So there usually you would need one well field per ton, and we're talking, Carrie, not even this, if it's a vertical loop. If it's going down, you need very little square footage of yard. But if they did a horizontal where they're going 4 to 6 feet down, that can be a lot of square footage of yard space.
I think my well field is probably about 12 or 15 by 25.
But yours is, but then they gotta pipe it back to the home, so.
So you said one well per what?
I'll have to get that to you. I really haven't looked at that, so I don't have that information. I apologize, I wasn't prepared for that question. What do you want to know about air source heat pumps?
Yeah, there you go.
I can get that information to Carrie.
Well, that's probably where we're going, so.
Oh, good, good. Our next incentive is going to be our heat pump water heater. And then I did some more math for you. So a heat pump water heater ideally is going to replace an electric water heater. So a standard electric water heater, if you're looking at the image on the screen, there's those two rectangular boxes. Each one of those have a heating element. And the total wattage out of those is going to be about 4,500 watts to heat the water. If you got a heat pump water heater, it's really going to look the same 3/4 of the way down. It still has the heating elements, but on top of it is going to be the heat pump. It is actually just going to use the surrounding air to heat the hot water. You do need maybe like a 12 by 12 area for the heat pump water heater to sit in, just so you can get some air exchange. The heat pump will kick off cold air, but it also will help dehumidify during the summer months, which is kind of nice. So 4,500 watts when the electric one is running, and the heat pump water heater, when it's using the heat pump, is going to be, depends on the heat pump, but anywhere from 250 watts to 400 watts to heat the water. So if you have a family of 4, the yearly cost to just on an electric water heater is about $292. This is per year. And then the heat pump water heater is going to be about $139. So you're going to save about $153 just in water heating cost. LES's incentive is going to be $500 for that. And then there is a federal tax credit of 30% up to $2,000 for the heat pump water heater. We haven't seen, well, actually this last year we started to see a lot more of these being installed. These are the heat pump water heater. I'm seeing a lot of homeowners do it themselves. And you can do that. We do require that the city inspect it, that it passed plumbing and electrical code. So this is something you could do yourself. We would just need a copy of a receipt of what you paid for it. All of our incentives cannot exceed 50% of the total cost, so that's why we need that, how much you spent for it. But most likely you're going to get that 500 LES incentive. Any questions on this?
We have a gas water heater. You're talking about electric.
Well, so the only reason I'm saying ideally for electric is you already have an electric water heater. If you have a gas water heater, you're going to have additional fees to get the electrical to the water heater. And then, this is just the way I think about it, your water heater is 365 days out of the year, and then on your gas fee, you have a monthly fee. But if you eliminate that gas resource, and if you only have a gas furnace, you're going to have that monthly fee every month, and really you'd only be using the gas during the winter months if you got a heat pump water heater.
Our gas water heater is right next to our gas furnace, and I'm
Yeah.
sure there's not 25 square feet available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because actually I did have a customer install a heat pump water heater. He got rid of his natural gas water heater, but the heat pump he got is only like 120 volts. So basically he can just plug it into an outlet. The heat recovery on those might be a little bit longer than your gas water heater and just a straight electric resistance, But if you get a 66 gallon, if it's two of you, very unlikely you would run out of hot water to begin with. So you have options.
So you're saying the bigger heat pump takes what, 220?
Yeah, because it still has the the bank of heaters in there. So all of these heat pump water heaters, you can put it in hybrid where it will just run on the heat pump. And then the other option is if it needs more power, it will cycle on the little heaters inside the heat pump.
How long do they last? You know, you figure your standard gas heater lasts 8 years and 1 day, and that's when the expiration date is. So how long, do you have any idea on longevity of this?
I believe I'm seeing like 10-year warranty on these. So I'm all electric, and I've lived in my house for 25 years, and we have such hard water. I've been through 3 water heaters. So I don't know that it's a component issue. Sometimes it's just the reservoir rust out. So it could be as simple as that.
Do you have a water softener as well?
I do not. Is there a water softener salesman here?
No, but I mean, ideally, if you had a water softener, your heat pump water heater would utilize the soft water, right?
So the water softener would just be for the water going in it. So the heat pump, so there's no water on the heat pump water heater, if I'm understanding your question.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to me, the water softener is just going to extend the life of my water heaters. So that's something I need to. Is there a federal tax credit for that? All right. Any other questions?
Larry, let's use the microphone. Larry.
Obviously, sometimes you need to have professional help, either with an electrician or for plumber. And sometimes they'll, in the process of selling you the device, what it is, they'll kind of bundle in also where you're going to get this tax credit, or you're going to get this. Do they actually help you get that then, or they? Because I've not experienced doing that on my own.
To getting the...
That either credit from you, some kind of a...
Oh, well, we don't sell or install. This is all, actually, our whole program is driven by, HVAC contractors, insulation contractors, plumbers that would do the heat pump water heaters.
So do they help fill out the paperwork?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so they do all of the paperwork for us. They give you the credit. So they have to provide documentation that you received a $500 LES credit. It needs to be deducted from their total cost to you. They submit it to us, and then we first of all verify it meets our requirements, and then we verify that you were credited that dollar amount. Then we reimburse them. All you do is, really, when they send us a request to set money aside for your project, is your signature, and it says qualifies for a $500 LES incentive.
And they take care of the rest of it?
Everything.
Because they're selling the equipment,
Yes,
and they're making their money on that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Federal tax credit, you're on your own.
Federal tax.
I had the pleasure of seeing the city present data that led them up to the program you mentioned, providing up to, to help people get heat pumps, a lot of money actually. And they did a survey of HVAC installers and found their eagerness to be part of this was variable. Most, I think, were pretty eager, but there were some who said, I don't want to deal with all that stuff. I don't recommend it to the customers. They have to ask me. So it might depend on which safe action installer you get.
Yeah, and you know, we do the best that we can promote the program. I mean, there's only so much that we can do, you know, have, you know, on the news, our LES flyers, and ideally, it's the HVAC contractors that are out there selling the program. We do send out surveys afterwards, you know, did the incentive affect, is this why you bought the system? But it really comes down to knowledge of what a heat pump can do, and a lot of the things that we're talking about, you know, the energy savings is there. It's going to be investment, and that's why we have an incentive, because it's a great opportunity for you to save and LES to save. All right, Jennifer.
Hello. I'm Jennifer Bangert. I'm an energy service specialist like Jay at LES. I have not been there as long as Jay. I've been at LES for 19 years and in my current position for about 6 years. Today I'll be talking about our net metering program, which is our solar program. It's primarily residential, but we do also offer it to small commercial. Basically any company or any residential customer that wants to install a system, but it has to be under 25 kW on the AC side. So this is just different pictures of what you might see for installations around our service territory. On the top left is a 3.65 kW on the DC side. What I do want to mention is if you do have an installer that approaches you or that you're looking to install solar, something that's important to understand is not every solar panel is made the same, in the sense that you might have one solar panel that is 365 watts compared to another panel that might be 400 watts. So like the top left-hand corner photo shows 10 panels, which is a 3.65 kW system, but the next guy might come along and say, well, I can give you 2 more panels. Well, is it 400 watts or is it 365 watts? So it might make a big difference on what you're actually getting. So it's important to know when a salesman's coming to your house or when you're asking about a system, just understanding what it is that you're actually getting. So this is just a couple different systems you might see. The bottom right is a ground mount system. They can basically be placed on any sort of a structure. We definitely recommend a south or west facing just for production, never north in our service area, and that probably makes sense to you as well. So in our service territory, we currently have around 430 systems that are installed. Again, a majority of those are residential. The average system size is 7.16 kW on the AC side, and on the DC side is 8 kW. The total installation that we have currently is around 4.06 kW, or excuse me, megawatts on the AC side. I guess kW would be quite a bit less, wouldn't it? Yes, Carrie?
So what's the difference between AC and DC?
So the DC portion of it is gonna be more on the side of what the output of the actual panel is, and on the AC side is going to be the inverter portion of it.
Just wanted to ask the question to make sure that people in the
yes.
audience are clear on
Sure.
what the terminology is.
Yes. And when we do, I'll talk about our incentives later, our capacity payment, that's based on the DC side, not the AC. It's very confusing, but if you have additional questions about any of this later, I'd be more than happy to give you some documentation, email you whatever it is, or just answer questions in general. So something that we've tried really hard to do over the last few years is educate our customers when it comes to installing solar and make sure that they understand what they're getting so that they're happy with their systems. So things that you should consider before ever installing solar is, what is your LES bill telling you? Do you understand the usage on it? Do you understand what the line items are on your bill and what solar will do for your bill? What can you offset? What can't you offset? What is a fixed cost? What is a variable cost? So those are kinds of things that we're trying to educate our customers on prior to installing solar. So if you don't know those things, we are more than happy to help you. Most likely you'll get J or I if you call into LES to get that information. We have also put together a solar buyer's checklist of things that we want customers to look at prior to installing solar. Things like what I've already mentioned. Do you have a south-facing roof? Do you have a west-facing roof? Have you already gone through measures to make sure your home is as efficient as possible? If not, you can always look at our sustainable energy programs like Jay just covered to make sure your home is as efficient as possible before installing solar so that your solar is working the best that it can for you and offsetting as much energy as possible. And then also, I don't know if anybody's heard of our Solar Trade Ally group that we have, but it's much like our sustainable energy program. We ask that solar installers that want to be on this list go through a training once a year, much like our sustainable energy program folks, to make sure that they understand LES's rates and that they are providing accurate information to customers when they are helping them right-size their systems and giving them information about solar. The other thing is, just so I don't forget to say this later, if you don't use a Solar Trade Ally, you will not get an incentive from LES. It's just one way we try to help make sure customers are getting the information that they need and accurate information. It's just kind of a little bit of a carrot to get those solar installers to do the right thing and help protect our customers. So this is a sample of what your bill would look like, and I'm going to go through what the different things are as far as line items on your LES bill and what you can offset and what you can't. So the first line item is your energy charge. This is a line item that can be offset. This is the energy that you're using on your home or whatever your meter is hooked to. I guess it's not necessarily your home, but whatever your solar system is going to be hooked to, this is the energy charge it's going to be offsetting. This is things like the fuel source that is a variable charge. Your customer charge is a fixed charge. That $5 charge will always be there. That is not something that is able to be offset. This is going to be like the meter charge and anything that is associated with it when it comes to the maintenance of it, any paperwork, anything like that. So that is a fixed cost. The next line item is your facilities charge. There is a 1, 2, and a 3, and that is based off the amount of energy that your home uses over a 12-month period. That is analyzed every 12 months. So for example, this example has a level 2. If you were able to offset enough energy on the energy charge line, you may drop down to a level 1, but you will always have a facilities charge of some sort. Also, on the flip side, if you had somebody that uses a ton of energy, they might be at a level 3 before they install solar. They may drop down to a 2. And I'll show you what that savings is later. But the facilities charge is the infrastructure that you're gonna see out in the field. That's gonna be the transmission lines, the distribution lines, maybe the beautiful green box that you see in your backyard that's the transformer, those sort of things. That's what that charge is for. So that will always be there, but it may be decreased based on the amount of energy that you're offsetting. And then your city dividends and your sales tax will always be there as well. So if you have a solar installer for whatever reason that comes to your door and says, I have this great thing, we want to install solar on your house so that you never have a bill again. That's not true. You're always going to have some fixed charge. And that's something that we want to make sure that customers understand so that they're not disappointed. Okay, so installing solar on your home. Here's an example of what 12 months would look like. So the January through December, the total yearly kilowatt hours for this example, all in all for every month, is 16,602 kilowatt hours. So this is an example that I'm going to use a couple different times. So the total bill amounts, you can see there, that has all your energy, that's your fixed cost, everything, your total amount at the end of every month. If you look on the energy cost, now that's that first line item that we talked about that you can offset. That's all you can offset there. The only other portion of your bill that's potentially going to change is maybe that facilities charge. So this is just to demonstrate that you will still have a bill. So when you are looking to install solar, one of the best tools that you can get for yourself is your energy history. If you're not a paper saver, I am not. I'm really bad at doing that, but I'm not really good at keeping records. We'll just say it that way. I'm not real great at keeping records. But what you can do if you're like me and you don't keep all your bills, you can call Jay or I. We can put together a spreadsheet, kind of like what I demonstrated earlier, and we can give you your past energy use either for 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it might be, so you can understand your home's use. And then you can use that past history when you are going shopping for your solar system so you can right-size your system. So for this example, we are going to be looking at installing a system that's going to offset 50%, that's going to offset 50% of that 16,600 and whatever it was, kilowatt hours. So what you do is you look at that 16,602 kilowatt hours divided by 2, easy math, come up with half of it. So that's what we're going to be looking to offset. That's at 50%. I'm not saying you have to put in a system to offset 50% or even 100%, but this is just simple math of how you do it for 50%. The other additional piece of information that you need to have, and this is on that buyer's checklist, is 1 kilowatt of southern-facing solar is about 1,400 kilowatt hours per year of production. So that's the other piece of the puzzle that you have to have for this equation. And I will also get this PowerPoint over to you guys, so if you want it for later, you can have that information so you don't have to take lots of notes. I guess we should have said that earlier. So the next piece of the puzzle is what size do we need? What size system is that going to be? So, well, you just take that 50% of the kilowatt hours and you divide it by that 1,400 to come up with the 5.9 kW system. So what will that 5.9% or 5.9 kW system produce each month? Well, we were looking for half, which was about 8,600. Well, if you look at the total offset use or offset production, January through December, we hit that by doing that calculation. So on the right-hand side, it shows what the offset is as far as the energy savings each month. So you're still going to have a bill at the 50%. So just as like a sort of a recap of the whole thing, solar will offset basically your energy use only. Then you have that potential to decrease your facilities charge. There's 3 levels. There's a level 1, 2, and a 3, which is it's a monthly charge. A level 1 is $25.75 per month. A 2 is $38 per month, and a level 3 is $57.75 per month. And then you can see where you have to end up to be on each of those levels as far as the kilowatt hours. So if you were able to decrease your energy enough to go from a level 3 to a level 2, you would have a $237 annual savings. That's right off the bat. The same would be if you went from a level 2 to a level 1, it would be $147 savings. I don't know that we've seen anybody go from a 3 to a 1 yet, but I'm sure that could happen. And that would be a pretty significant change and a pretty significant savings. So the next program we're going to talk about is our virtual net metering. I'm not sure if anybody was aware, or if you've seen it, or maybe even if you've taken a tour, because we have had tours of our community's solar farm out west of town on the north side of the interstate. It's 75th and West Holdridge. Has anybody taken a tour out there? Oh, good, good. So that's nice. So if you are really interested in contributing to solar, you want some solar production, you want to be able to say that you've offset some energy by solar, but you don't have the space for it, maybe you have some beautiful trees. We never suggest cutting down trees to put up solar. Or maybe you just don't have the land for it, or you don't want to put any holes in your roof. That would be me. I don't like holes in roofs. That was my first life, was shingling. So I don't want to do that. Question?
Or even if I get an LAS bill because I live in an apartment.
Yes.
I can still participate this way.
That is exactly right. That is a very good point. Thank you, Carrie. Or if you're in a multifamily building and you want to contribute to solar in some fashion, this is a great way to do it. So out at our community solar array, we have over 15,000 panels that customers can purchase. You can either purchase a full panel or a half panel. You can never purchase more than 80% of what your past history use has been. We've never had anybody that I know of that's purchased up. Okay, I guess we have. I lied. So we have had some purchase more than what I thought. So this is a little bit tiny for me, but this shows what it costs for a full panel or a half panel. You can either do full payments on it or it can be monthly payments. So it's $15 a year for a residential half panel of savings, and then $30 a year on a full panel when it comes to the savings. The other solar program that we have is called our Sun Shares, and that was actually created prior to our community solar garden, and that was a way for people to contribute and donate money in a fashion to be associated with solar. So that's how our community garden, or our community solar garden, was originally built, but it's also to help with some maintenance out there and some other programs around town. I think that, nope, okay, I forgot about this one. So we also have our renewable energy certificates. So there's a lot of tiny print up there, but if you are wanting to be able to indicate that you have all renewable energy, you can also buy RECs on top of your existing bill. So for example, that same kilowatt hour that we've been using, for example, is that 16,602 kilowatt hours. If you're wanting to be able to state that that is all renewable, you can add the 0.00206 per kilowatt hour on top of your bill itself. And then, so all in all, that would be $34.20 annually. And then you would be able to basically own those RECs. LES would retire that at the end of the year, and you'd be able to state that you have renewable energy, 100% renewable energy. That's about all I can say about the RECs, because I don't know a lot more. I apologize for that. Is there any questions that anybody has? I think that might be my last question.
On the solar panels at the farm, if I buy those and then move out of the area, are they transferable to my the new owner?
Did you state, okay, let me repeat what I think you said. Okay, yeah, go ahead,
So
repeat.
I buy the solar panels at your farm, I sell my house and move away. Are those solar panels ownership, is that transferable to the new owner of the house?
It is not transferable to the new owner of the home. If you move within our service territory, not out of our service territory, but if you move within our service territory, that will follow you. If you move outside of the service territory, you will end up with, LES will end up buying a portion of that back.
So the very first image you showed was all the places you got, LES got energy, and it was a huge area, covered many states.
Oh, yes.
And it included solar, and it included wind, as well as some, coal, natural gas. Is it more efficient? Well, I understand you said you can help us by offsetting our need to burn coal, burn gas at peak power need in the summer. But I also wonder, what's more efficient, to have another panel on someone's rooftop or a big array that is off maybe in a different state? Does that question make sense?
Right.
Which one you want is LES?
So it's both. So when it comes to our portfolio, we would prefer to have a huge system somewhere. But the unfortunate part of that is when it comes to solar, it takes a lot of land.
Right, okay.
So you have to find somebody willing to allow you to put those there, and that doesn't always happen. But as far as an individual need, if it's your goal you're obviously gonna wanna put solar on your home or be able to contribute to something that's yours, if that makes sense.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
And LAS is actually looking at doing more large-scale solar, like you were speaking.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Our house is directionally challenged, so,
In other words, it sits like this on a lot that's like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're either southeast or southwest, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is the limit, I guess, on off facing south directions? Can you go directly east or?
Sure, sure. I missed a whole slide somewhere on what it costs to install a system, I think. Anyways, I just realized that I maybe forgot to put a slide in here. So, LES has a capacity payment that at the end of the installation, we provide the customer with a capacity payment, which is our incentive for solar and for customers to install solar. So if it's completely south facing, you will end up with a capacity payment of $375 per kW. If it's west facing, it's $475. If you have a situation like you're talking, and the house is kind of tilted a little bit one way or the other, we use a program to figure out how much it is one way or the other to determine what you're gonna get. If you have both, was that your question on? Okay.
Well, and additionally on that question, when they install solar panels, can they be set up to compensate for that? So they're gonna be south facing even if they're not on a south facing roof?
Are you speaking like, can they, when it's constructed, can they set them up at a specific angle to capture that?
Yeah,
Potentially.
I
So,
think that would be wind issues.
Yeah.
You don't want it too far away from the roof, because then you're gonna have a lot of wind resistance. If it's at that angle. That's just my thought.
yeah. And in that case, if you had more land, maybe it would be better to do something ground mount. If you don't have roof space, it's at the correct angle. But we do look at all of that. And another example would be if you have south and west facing, we figure out how many kWs facing each direction, and that's how the capacity payment is also made up at the end. Yes, go ahead.
So in your examples, you kept targeting replacing 50%.
Yep.
Is there a reason you wouldn't want to? It's on. It's on. Is there a reason you wouldn't want to shoot for 75 or 80 or 100?
No, and that's fine. You can. That was just quick math,
Yeah.
easy. Don't let me forget to do this, but I forgot the one slide that talks about what it costs to install solar. So I want to make sure I get to that. But when it comes to right-sizing your system, making sure you have the correct history in front of you of what your home is using, the reason why we don't suggest customers to oversize their systems for more than what their home is using is because of the payback rate that LES pays customers. When you are offsetting, you're offsetting 1-to-1. When you are overproducing, you're overproducing at half. So it's gonna take you longer to pay off your system if you're overproducing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when you get to the point where it's feeding back into the LES system?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
If you have a battery source where you can capture that for later, then it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, also the program is set to max out at 25 kW.
Correct.
So I imagine you have commercial installations that are larger than that,
So we don't have a lot.
or churches.
We don't have a lot. Anything that's over 25 kW is 100% sell back at half rate. So that's why we don't have a lot, because financially it doesn't really work out.
So, Is it possible that there's just an advantage to buy the solar farm panels to offset your church's energy bill?
Well, there would be no maintenance behind it, so you wouldn't have to worry about the maintenance, you wouldn't have to worry about the land. That would be one advantage, but all in all, it also depends on what rate you're on.
We, Nelson did a study for us last fall, and,
For this specific church?
no, East Ridge.
Okay,
And we missed hitting a next jump in rate by
Oh.
hours of usage. And so we're looking to do something before we hit this again next summer.
yeah. Solar can be tricky when it comes to demand rates. So that's where you have to kind of understand if it makes sense or not. Some of the bigger businesses, that 25 kW doesn't touch much
No.
at all.
Yeah, I looked at doing it on our farm, and it's not even close,
Right.
which was kind of my third question, but it's kind of off topic here. But how do we get a bigger solar array put up on the farm?
In the sense of getting past the 25 kW, or?
Yeah, I guess you answered the question by saying it's only going to pay back at half
Right.
instead of replacing. But still, we could replace a lot if we could get by the 25 kW.
I'm,
If you get a size bigger than 25 kW, if the system is bigger than 25 kW, all of that goes directly to the grid. Anything that's in excess of 25 kW up to 100 kW, it doesn't go back into the property to
Yeah.
offset that
correct.
energy.
You don't get to offset any of your use. It just gets 100% sold back.
And that's just a policy decision?
Correct.
Please.
Yeah, so that is at the state level, that it has to be at least 25 kW. So that's where LES chose to stay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other questions I may or may not be able to answer? Yes.
Well, the takeaway that I have from tonight is certainly there's some things that I want to pursue further, but I am really impressed with both of your interest in the customer and with apparent non-interest in making money. And I get comfort from working with a HVAC who works with you, because you're going to keep them responsible,
Right.
from what I can gather. Maybe not on how it looks afterwards, but at least, if you're going through an HVAC to get the credit or whatever it is you're getting, it's kind of going through you too.
Right.
And my assumption is that you don't have very many bad actors very long.
Nope, we don't. That is the beauty of the SEP
Well,
program and our,
it really gives me comfort, knowing that our utility that we own is sort of taking care of us too, because it is really a puzzle for us consumers.
One thing I'd like to add to that, though, anytime that you're looking to upgrade HVAC, do the insulation, get multiple bids.
yes,
We are advocates for our customers, Jennifer and I. I think we're pretty good at that. And I'm telling people, get multiple bids. They're going to tell you, it may be different equipment, but the incentive is going to be the same. Get multiple bids. If you're doing solar, get multiple bids. You know, it's always good to see, you know, what these different pricings are out there.
And if you don't understand something doesn't feel right, let us know. You know, if you have questions just about maybe something simple, but at the very beginning of my presentation, I talked about, you know, if one installer says, well, I can get you 2 more panels, make sure you understand the specs. If it doesn't seem quite right, or you have 2 systems sitting side by side, but you're not quite sure what they mean, and you need somebody to look at it before you make a decision, that's what we're here for. Any additional questions? All right, thank you.